Hello world and the community of YouTube. My name is Yusef Aziz and I'm a professional basketball player. For the last 10 years I've been playing basketball overseas. I played in such countries as Germany, Holland, Brazil, Canada, Kuwait, and most recently Qatar. I can't tell you about the number of people who, especially back home in the States, who have asked me, hey, what's it like playing overseas? I'm interested in playing overseas. How can I play overseas? So after many years of having experience with playing overseas, I decided to make this video blog. I attended Seattle Pacific University. Seattle Pacific University is an NCAA Division II school located right in the heart of Seattle. And it's unique because most of the Division II schools or Division III schools are often located further away from metropolitan cities. Seattle Pacific University is a powerhouse program in both men's and women's basketball. After I finished my schooling at Seattle Pacific University, because of my success on the court, I was approached by several agents. Well, let me first explain what an agent is. An agent is essentially a middleman, somebody that works for the player, is hired by the player, and he acts as a liaison between the player and the organization. You would need an agent in order to negotiate the contracts, marketing deals, endorsement deals, anything like that. You as a player, you don't ever want to get yourself overcommitted into an organization by representing yourself. There has been a few instances where this has been the case, but keep in mind, agents often come from legal backgrounds, so often they're attorneys, lawyers, and then they also take a position in sports management. Yeah, and keep in mind too that in 2003, when I was coming out of college, that this was before the minor leagues in the States became more popular. They had like a resurgence with the NBDL, the ABA, and the CBA, and these other professional minor leagues organizations that were stemming up. And so realistically, there was only two options for an aspiring professional basketball player. Option number one, which is the more fortunate option, is actually you'd be quality enough and fortunate enough to land an NBA contract with an NBA organization. And second is to pursue a professional basketball career internationally. So usually, and this varies, usually an agent will get commission from a player's contract. That can range anywhere from 3 to all the way up to about 10% of the contract, depending on what type of agent it is and how qualified he or she is. Before the agent could actually sell me the product, he would need some kind of a resume because, think about it from an employer's perspective. This is a professional job, so anytime, just like anything else, when you go to apply for a job, they want to see your resume. They want to see your list of credentials. They want to see your experience, what type of skills, abilities you have. So all this is correlated in the basketball terms. So often, more times than not, what they're really looking for is to actually see game footage of you. So I worked with my college coach, and we have accumulated my game footage, and we started breaking those down into highlight tapes and also full game tapes. Of course, you want to give the tapes that you put forward your best effort and have the best results. I was fortunate to have a workout coming right out of college with the Seattle Supersonics. The formerly Seattle Supersonics and now the Oklahoma City Thunder. But basically, I learned a lot from that workout. I learned that, in order to play at that level, the amount of work that needs to take place is something that you can't take for granted. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Steve Nash, these players are such good talents because they all have a commonality, and that is work ethic. They work really, really hard at what they do, and it shows in their performances. So that's something I really realized that first time I stepped up to an NBA organization, was given an opportunity to show my skills. So my first international experience was in 2003, and I was in Frankfurt, Germany. Immediately, I noticed that during practice and stuff that the game was different. Primarily, the game was initiated through pick and rolls, and like I said, the big man didn't really have a back to the basket game. It was more of a pick and pop, pick and roll type of offense. Can you imagine like a 6'10", somebody like Dirk Nowitzki, who's German, big man shooting 3-pointers and stuff like that. So whereas America is more isolation on the wings and penetration from the wings, and quick, athletic, and if a big man is kind of going to power you, back you down to the basket and make a move. Europe is a little bit different in that regard. Acclimated to a whole another country. Obviously, the language is different. People look at you different. I remember going into the store when I was in Germany, and we used to practice twice a day. So once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And I remember after one morning practice, I was really, really dehydrated. And also I was jet lagged because I think the time difference was about 7 hours after a 11-hour flight. So it took me about at least a week and a half to actually get my body in rhythm. I was up all night, practicing and sleeping all day, practicing in the afternoon, sleeping, and then it was just I had to break that kind of cycle. But like I said, I remember one time in the morning practice where I went to the grocery store, and I was really, really dehydrated because we've been practicing a lot. And I was walking up and down the aisles, and I just felt just really frustrated because I couldn't read anything. And I was just having trouble trying just to find, some Gatorade. So I was walking up and down, and I thought, you know what, I'll just ask somebody. So I approached the person who worked at the store, but then I realized that, he might not speak English. So it was a culture block, a language block, and it kind of made you feel homesick. But it was something that you have to overcome, and it's not easy, especially when coming from America, where our culture is very accessible and convenient. The whole 7-Eleven, 24 hours, 7 days a week type of culture. So it just took a little bit of time to get used to it, to adjust. So from Frankfurt, Germany, I actually went directly from Frankfurt to Amsterdam. It's a good starting country for a professional athlete. One, because it's in Europe. Two, because the level of competition is in the pressure is not that excessive, but it is still apparent. So you go to the crowds, and the games are going to be packed, and there is a big following. But say as a Spain or Italy, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of expectations. Also, another thing that was a plus was that in Holland at the time, they could allow 3 professional imports. So that also allowed, to kind of share some of the responsibilities. I stayed there for about 6 months and played in the top level of Amsterdam. Ex-alumni, he was actually playing at SBU before I was there, several years before I was there. And he played in Holland as well. And I remember him, before I went out to him, I emailed him asking for some advice and stuff like that. And I remember very, very important advice I would recommend every professional basketball player take, and that is to always get your game tapes. He remembered to say, Yusef, make sure you get your game tapes. Make sure you get your game tapes. And it's always very, very important to gather your game tapes, so you have footage of your games, because you never know when you might be injured. You might have a bad relationship with your organization, the team that you're playing for. You might be released from the team, and then you're going to need those game tapes to find you another job for the next season. Put forward some video, and actually got me a great contract in South America, in Brazil. I flew down to Brazil in 2004, and it was another different culture, but I felt it more easily to adapt to the Brazilian culture than I did when I was in Germany. Brazil for about 3 years, just a little bit under 3 years. I played 3 full seasons there. The Brazilian league was very competitive. It had about 16 teams in there, and at the time when I was playing, it had about 6 Brazilian players that were playing in the NBA. And they also had a lot of quality players that might have been actually better than the players in the NBA still playing in the local Brazilian National League. So obviously the top sport in Brazil was football, or soccer as we know it, but the Brazilians did have a very keen interest in basketball, and the crowds were amazing. In Holland, people spoke a lot of English because it's the second language there. In schools, they teach their kids English. And so the English barrier wasn't really a problem. In Brazil, it was the complete opposite. nobody spoke English. I think out of on my team of 12, 13 players, 2 spoke English, and the head coach spoke. Other than that, everybody else on my team only spoke Portuguese. And I was ignorant on myself because when I was thinking, I was like, oh, I'm going to go down to Brazil. I got to learn Spanish and all this and all this. And then, I get down there and I realize that they don't speak Spanish in Brazil. They speak Portuguese. So that's another point that I would like to make. Before you go to a country, you should always do research on it. The lifestyle, the language, the culture, the food, also the currency, because you might get paid in local currency. You might have to send it back, or you open up a bank account. You have to be aware of the conversion rates and everything like that. So it's always good to do a little background information before you head out to the country. I remember being in a timeout, and coach called a timeout, and all the players came over. The coach, all the players from the bench stood up, and we was in a timeout, and it seemed like the coach was talking, a million miles per hour, and everything was going so fast. He was speaking in Portuguese, and the intensity of the game was carrying over to the timeout. Coach was animated. I had no idea what he was saying, and then finally at the end of the timeout, he said, "Yusef, we need better defense." And so the whole timeout was a minute and a half, and he gave me one word, so it was kind of interesting in that regards. Obrigado, Brasil. Braço para todo mundo in Brazil. So those are my confessions of a professional basketballer abroad. Hopefully this video blog has been informative and helped some questions that needed to be answered. If you do like this video, click like. And if you have any additional comments, feel free to leave them in the comment box. This is Yusef Aziz signing off, and peace.